Complexities turn to ban. Evil geniuses turn to ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time. Complexities turn to pick.
Earth Spirit.
Evil geniuses turn to pick.
Dark Lion.
Complexities turn to pick. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time.
Oracle.
Evil geniuses turn to ban.
And welcome back to our coverage of the International 2016 America's Qualifier. And I'm AC, joined by Fluff, and we've got a good one, man. This is one of the matches I think most everyone at home has been looking forward to throughout this qualifier. Complexity taking on Evil Geniuses. So I was just casting Complexity. I know you were just on the panel, or not the panel, but the multi-stream watching Complexity. Yesterday, you know, you and I talked briefly about it. They seem to be stumbling a little bit, little inconsistencies. Whereas today, it seems like they're on point. It seems like they're really playing their style of game, and they're going to need every bit of that taking on EG.
Yeah, I mean, any game between EG, FDL, Complexity, and DC especially, those top 3 Complexity, DC, and, you know, sorry. Anyway, those these teams are all the ones that we want to watch. Complexity yesterday, they did look a little shaky, but today, beating out DC, that was really impressive for me, and that shows me that it's a lot more competitive than I thought it would be for the second slot. I still do favor EG very heavily. And let's see, banning out Bounty and Ricky, those are two of Zai's favorite roaming heroes these days, and paired up with the Darkseer, it's very lethal. I think both Secret and EG share that favoritism for Darkseer in the first phase, and you know, Bulba was showing us why on Team Secret, so no reason why Universe, the master himself, couldn't. I really like the Lion pick. I think he's just a solid sport right now, probably not getting enough play in the EU region. You always know that when he blinks in, he's going to get that solid disable, solid initiation. There's no hijinks about it, just like 1, 2, 3, it's easy. Compared to like an Earth Spirit where you can still make mechanical errors, even though players are just absolutely very good at these heroes at the top level. And Oracle as well. I don't think Oracle's that great of a hero. He definitely fits the meta well. He's a defensive support. He can deal with the Darkseer in lane, but Darkseer doesn't necessarily need to lane. He can just go in the jungle, and I'm feeling that that's what Evil Genius might go for here, because usually if they're gonna go for some kind of contest, they might pair it up with like a melee hero, more robust like that.
Yep.
On the 4.
Well, I mean, when it comes to the Darkseer, is jungle speed's unquestioned, especially just given the state of the game, Iron Talon Gaming and all that. In fact, watching Complexity earlier today, saw them take the Darkseer into the jungle, started in the jungle, basically did not emerge from the jungle for the first 5 or 6 minutes, and he had farm comparable to those of the mids. So you're talking a hero that does jungle very quickly, and, you know, like you said, he's a tough to bring down hero. Surge is going to allow him to escape a lot of situations that otherwise might be tough. So, I mean, just the Darkseer pick, like you said, handing it to a name synonymous with that hero in universe. Certainly something Complexity is going to have to account for. Now they have a lone druid. So let's talk about lone druid briefly. I mean, he's a hero who, I mean, depending on what kind of time scale you want to look on, we've seen the hero shine, we've seen him fall completely out of favor, and now I feel like there's a bit of a question mark over top of how this hero functions in the current meta. A meta that's much more focused on team fighting more so than any other strategy. How do you see Lone Druid really adding to this Complexity lineup?
Okay, well, I feel like Lone Druid's one of those safe laners that can deal with Darkseer, and I don't think Swindles plays it. Could be wrong, but I feel like Chessie might take it in the safe lane as usual. It's just good for Darkseer in general, and the great thing about Lone Druid is that a lot of times you don't have to make him your hard carry. A lot of times he can just kind of supplement and be that dual core with one more. So a lot of his weaknesses can be masked if you pick it into the right lineup, right composition. And one thing I do want to point out about this matchup, though, is that on the EU side, Terrorblade's boasting 80% win rate. And not only that, but he's being picked up in the first phase, if not banned. And I think on the American side, it doesn't seem like it's caught on quite yet. But I'm wondering if that's something that these teams are aware of, or if it's just something that hasn't developed in the meta yet.
Yeah, well, that's a good question to lob back at you. Why is it, do you think, that Terrorblade maintains that popularity in EU? What is it about the hero that seems to attract the teams? And what is it that you think teams like these NA teams that are predominantly ignoring the hero are missing out on?
I think Terrorblade's just one of these heroes in the game right now that's just nearly uncontested in terms of core v core matchups. Like, you have to dig really deep into some of these niche picks to deal with him, and people haven't really figured out a legitimate 100% counter yet. Also, it's just like the fact that people are first phasing it and it's going with 80% win rate just is a testament to how amazing it is. But in terms of NA, like being a player myself, I understand that once you are playing in a region, you kind of you create your own meta there. The way that you react, the way that you pick is based on the experiences that you had and the teams that you're playing against. So maybe they just, no one has to pick Terrorblade here. It's not that they're ignorant of the fact or anything like that. It's just that they don't need to go for any of these picks, and they just have to stick with what they know in the time. Like, we're the ones watching, but they're playing, and they're only focused on what's ahead of them and not on the entire scene.
Well, our last bans are coming out now. Slarter taking out by EG. Wait to see what Complexity is going to take off the table. But while we do, breaking down EG's lineup, I've been talking a bit about the Lone Druid, the Oracle, etc. Again, a meta that is dominated by team fight-oriented compositions and lineups, and EG seems to be moving exactly in that direction. Darkseer Phoenix, very good combo. Even Darkseer Lion, if your timing is right on point, can be absolutely devastating. Do you think this is just kind of standard stuff out of EG, or do you think they're going to try to make a statement, even perhaps, like in terms of just being able to put their team fight skills to the test? And what do you think is going to be our fifth pick coming out here? We've got our Jug. Assuming that's not a mid Jug, could be, but assuming it's not, that means we're probably still going to be looking for a mid.
Yeah, there's a lot of information here. Like, this is classic EG, though, in a nutshell. I feel that PPD is one of those captains who places heavy emphasis on team fight, more so than any other drafter that I've seen, and that'll continue no matter what the meta is or how people are playing. That's just his personal preference, so I feel like that has to do with EG itself. But with the way that Complexity is drafting, it's very clear that Swindles, he much prefers this Deathball strategy where they kind of hit a timing group of S5, and it's very clear that that's their plan here. It looks like they're going to abuse one of these combos, Oracle DP. It's very, very, very common. It pretty much extends the life of DP, and she heals herself through the ultimate, doubling it up. It's just very hard to deal with. They're banking on the fact that their strategy now has a window where they want to get the Radiance up on the Lone Druid in the safe lane. They want to get the DP a little bit more buff, and then they want to just run at all the towers.
Right.
And the reason why you pick Batrider here, oh wow, Troll Warlord.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. I was just going to say the Bat Rider gives EG some much needed, or excuse me, not EG, complexity, some much needed ball kind of a strategy. You need the ability to take fights under your opponent's tower, otherwise they can just kind of wait you out and wait for you to make a mistake. So that's nice, but what about this troll? And it is going to be Fear on the Troll Warlord with a mid Juggernaut.
Troll, I'm not so sure how these matchups play out, but I feel that with another carry, and especially with a very capable player in Sumail playing the Juggernaut, the Frenzy ultimate is going to be doing some serious damage. I feel like Troll in the past really dominated a lot with the sniper, just because like this heavy physical damage being amped up with the ultimate he's almost like a supportive type of carry. Like you don't really plan on the Troll carrying the game completely by himself, so I feel like I don't know, it might just play out very well for them, and it also will it'll apply mischance on the whirling axes to the bear, so that's one more deterrent for it. But I don't know, like Phoenix is very good at dealing with a bear. Like you're gonna anticipate the bear running up to the racks trying to siege and Sunray coming down. Troll, I'm pretty sure he's gonna feel pretty fearless, just run up, throw down the whirling axes, and maybe get a couple hits in there. If in a 1v1, if Fear is Troll and he's hitting the bear, you just man up. The Troll will usually win that fight, and it's very easy for him to like lock down that bear. A lot of carries can't really do that.
Well, I got my picks in, my predictions. So everybody saw mine. Hopefully you get yours as well. Doesn't look like we're going to have anything too unique. Waiting on the runes to spawn. Everyone just continuing to play it safe. But yeah, the Troll, which, going back a few patches ago, I don't know that anyone needs any more of him any more than they do some more ho ho ha ha. But a hero that I swear it seems like this hero for a brief time was certainly a champion of the meta. I mean, just absolutely dominant. But for the most part, always seems to be a situational pick ever since he went in. Just something can add a different kind of wrinkle. But we'll talk about that in the lane matchups coming up. For now, let's take a look at who's handling who as the lanes do take shape. It's going to be PPD playing on our Phoenix, the captain himself. It'll be Sumail, as mentioned, here in mid, playing on the Juggernaut right beside him. That's Universe, getting ready to set up shop on the Darkseer here in the jungle. Zai on support, playing the Lion, and of course Fear farming the one-position Troll Warlord. Other side of the river, we've got Swindles. He's going to be starting out here in the jungle. He's picked up an Iron Talon and a Mango to get the Bad Rider started. Death Prophet, of course, played by Limp here in mid. Trying to use that drain, taking a bit of damage, but for the most part, just going paint for paint on both sides there. Chessie is going to be farming the one-position Lone Druid, setting up shop here in the top dire safe lane. Z-Freak trading blows with Zai. He is a little tanky here on the Earth Spear. Got to be careful, though. Universe Mayover only is level 1, though, so nothing to worry that much about. We'll go ahead and roll himself away. And, of course, Oracle, played by Hanskin.
Yeah, and I think you might have caught this in the mid lane. Sumail goes for the early harass on the DP in order to focus to get the Spirit Siphon charge out of the way. That's a big play that we see a lot of very good players in mid doing versus DPs, because once those charges go down, it takes way longer for them to reset. And instead of having 2, he just only has 1 now. And he's gonna be nearing level 3, so he would be taking way more damage as a Juggernaut if he didn't make that play.
Right.
And it's really interesting to see that Swindle went for the Iron Talon Bat. Like, pretty much staying true to his word. He's like, okay, I'm not going to the offlane anymore. I'm gonna go jungle. Not gonna make that mistake that I made yesterday. And I'm pretty sure this is efficient. I'm not sure if it's the best, but I feel like I haven't tested myself, but I feel like I'll trust him on this one.
Well, it's unfortunately, depending on who you ask, I suppose. Some people love the Iron Talon state of the game. Many hate it. Swindle's very outspoken in general against it. But, you can't spit into the wind unless you want to get spit on. So instead, he's just going to go with the flow. And, everything's relatively quiet right now. We do see some dewarding. This is a very low Sumail. Is going to be a little careful, but for the most part, surviving through that. Here we go. Z-Freak sliding in from the back, and first blood.
Wow.
Drawn by Limp, and that's Sumail playing ultra aggressive. Could have pulled back, could have used the spin to get himself to safety instead. Allowing time for the rotation from Z-Freak. Zai was there to try to help, but just didn't matter. coL out to an early lead.
That was such a good rotation, and it's all enabled because in this Iron Talon meta, you pretty much know that the offlaner is not going to be occupying the lane, and because of that, the supports are free to roam. Complexity did a really nice surround. Oracle opting to, instead of pulling, he goes for the aggressive play and it pays off for first blood. And I really like, while that was going on, I really like that Jesse, while the Darkseer was in the jungle, he was actually pressuring the tower, and he got quite a bit of significant damage on it with his bear, and that's exactly what you need to do in the safe lane when the offlaner is just trying to be efficient somewhere else. You have to draw their attention away and start taking some advantages for yourself.
Early CS winners right now. It is the Troll Warlord who's on top with 22. Right behind him is Darkseer. A little bloated though because it's our jungle CS. 19 CS for Chessie, make it 20 now. 17 for the Bad, also in the jungle. And Limp being slightly outclassing, I should say, Sumail in mid, as he not only was a part of the first blood, but also leading by a handful of CS too. So with Sumail having given up a death, he's level, let's see, he's level just about 5. Actually, the Death Prophet is still somehow behind Sumail in levels. That's kind of shocking, or I should say right on par with him.
Yeah, it's not, they shared it between 3 heroes. It's much more significant when it's just 2.
Yep.
And I mean, Sumail's going to be just fine mid. It's always going to be slightly disadvantageous just because of the way the matchup works, but Juggernaut is just going to be just fine, and a lot of the items that he goes for are very like cost effective and cheap, so...
Z-Freak in trouble. Universe caught up with him, and
Nice
caught from
block.
behind by Zai. Well played. Zai pursued that out. Slightly lower movement speed on line compared to the Earth Spear, but with Universe rotating over, he knew he could force the rolling boulder, which would give him the opportunity to hit the Earth Spike. So EG knots it up 1-1.
If you compare the levels of Swindle and with Universe, it's pretty much on par. So Swindle's actually doing a really good job of playing the bat in the jungle. I feel like he must have practiced this to get it that efficient. So like props to him for pulling that off.
Top tier 1 should be dropping here shortly. Darkseer is making his way over, so it's going to be late. I'm not sure what he's going to do except soak XP. In fact, that's all he's going to do. As the first tower does drop, Chessie taking
Mid lane.
last hit there, mid lane. You can see Limp in a smidge of trouble, but no real follow-up there. He had Hanskin behind him as well if needed, so keeping things safe. In the meantime, Bat's doing a great job. Swindle's moving into lane, soaking experience, getting a few last hits here and there, and really just getting his levels up. He is now, I don't know, not that much, but a bit ahead of Universe's Darkseer.
Yeah, and like as somebody who used to compete against mid lane, something's going to happen. I don't think it'll turn to anything. Oh, they got the Burrow Smash on top.
And they're going to be able to get him. Not before Limp takes a lot of damage, though, and Limp, very low. The reaction coming in, it's going to be late, though. Universe trying to focus on Hanskin. That's a tough target to bring down with just Ion Shell. And he will be able to make it away. In the meantime, Limp, very fortunate that it was just the oh, Batrider actually got a solo kill? How in the hell did that happen?
Oh my gosh. I guess that everyone was distracted by mid, or like Swindle's got enough napalm stacks on Fear to just catch him off guard.
Wow.
But that's the thing, though. It's usually you're playing this carry versus offlaner, and you have a significant level advantage. But look at Swindle; he's actually a level ahead, almost 2 levels ahead of the troll. He didn't expect that kind of damage.
Yeah, I mean, so far, I mean, Troll takes a little while to come online, so maybe we'll see things pick up a little bit shortly, but for now, definitely Complexity. I like their movement. I feel like they're maneuvering EG and largely just outplaying them. Their decision-making is just much better.
Yeah, and a lot of it just has to do with the fact that the top lane is just freed up. The Darkseer versus the Lone Druid matchup, Lone Druid just really can't be bothered about that. He's going to farm no matter what. He doesn't require the rotations of support or any defensiveness. So the Complexity line was really taking full advantage of this fact, and that's just the way that the matchups kind of worked in this game.
Taking a look at early net worth. It is 3 from Complexity, topping things off, and not by a little either. I mean, the next closest person to the top 3 from EG is Fear, and he's still about 500 gold behind. That doesn't sound like much, but early on, pre-10 minutes, you're talking just efficiency numbers when, you know, there's not even that many kills on the board. That's actually a fairly big deal, especially when you look at the Lone Druid, who got a very fast hand of Midas, has had it up. It's now use number 3 or 4, something like that, I don't know. But it's already going to be paying off for itself in big way.
And this is what Complexity needs to do. Like I said, their lineup is definitely meant to deathball. That's the way Swindles operates a lot of the time, and it's just very apparent in their draft. So they need to get that early advantage, secure it, and then maintain it, and look forward to pushing a lane as 5, and then hopefully going for the racks around the 25-minute mark or so, or aiming to at least get 1 by that point.
EG congregating near mid now. looking to make something happen. Chessie has gone into the jungle, freeing up top lane for Hanskin, who is very happy to be picking up this free experience. He's not far from level 6. We'll have it very, very soon. In the meantime, Swindles with Z-Freak lying in wait, just hoping they'll see Zai or Fear come in the lane, but both of them so far are happy to avoid that. Invis rune's going to be found by Limp, and we'll see if he wants to put that to use sometime soon. I feel like EG is quickly finding themselves in a spot, and the gold graph would tell the same story, where they need to break the status quo. Just letting this lone druid free farm the jungle is not going to give them an in they want. We're going to have a very fast, very, very fast Radiance on the way.
I think this is classic EG though. They tend to not feel the pressure. I mean, even if it is there, because they believe in their ability to execute as a team, execute the combos that PPD drafts for them. They have a very significant team fight presence in this game. And a funny thing about Complexity, what I was going to say earlier, is that as a competitor, when I was looking at Complexity at their high times, they were dominating everyone in the scene before Digital Chaos was over in the NA region. I asked myself, how do I beat this team? What are they losing to? And what I noticed is that they were losing to a lot of dual core late game combinations. They were losing in the late game a lot of times when they built up an advantage, and what I imagine happens is they fight, and they wipe at the rack, so they go too hard, and then the game completely swings.
Universe dead without much muss or fuss. Limp has deployed his ultimate. Sumail has a double damage rune. He has to decide if he wants to try to get some use out of it, so a lot of time looks like he wisely will pull back. Tier 1 still under assault. See if they're pulled back for good. No, they're going to smoke. Here we go. Sumail's looking for targets. It's going to be big if he can find them. 3 were grouped. Instead, he's just going to get eyes on Z-Freak. He's going to be immediately stunned by the boulder. And now just taking his time. He still has his Omni Slash. Now would be the good time. Nope. I think he was going for it, and I think he got fogged. I think he just did it again, as a matter of fact. And he's going to spin. Z-Freak still hustling, though. There we go. PPD.
He buys out.
Yep. Smart. They will get him, but ultimately a bit of a missed opportunity there. I mean, if you're coL, you're not happy you gave up anyone at all, especially since you didn't get the tower. But look at top. Chessie has pushed it all the way up to the tier 2. It's now taking significant damage. He is absolutely monstrous at this point, sitting on 1,400 gold. His net worth is a full 1,000 ahead of Fear just as we cross the 10-minute mark. And I think Complexity is flat out outplaying EG right now. They just are.
Yeah, I'm Darkseer is pretty much the enabler for them to get those initiations with the Surge, and he wasn't present for that fight because he was picked off first, so it just made it so much harder for EG to take that fight. There's a couple things I want to talk about.
Sure.
Batrider, I know a lot of players go for this drum build, and I understand it, but I feel like once they nerf it, it's better to just go for the Windlace Blink. I really respect this decision. I feel like that's just the way that Bat's meant to be played. You get the Blink Dagger, you can go in like that. And I think it's cute, but I mean, Tranquils and Windlace pretty much get the job done in that regard. And number 2, Complexity's lineup operates at a higher level just solely because they're on Dire. If you're on Radiant, it's just so much riskier to control the Aegis and Roshan area, but because they're Dire, whenever they feel the opportunity, they can go take an Aegis for free, and that helps their Deathball strategy quite a bit.
I have deny attempt. Swindles just showed off the blink and got silenced. Sumail going to be surged in. Now here comes PPD. Way in the middle. Looks like some kind of miscommunication there as EG trailed their captain, and paying the price as Sumail's now lassoed, being drugged back, and he's going to drop as well. It's a double kill for Swindles. They may get Fear too. Flame break. Yep, knocks him back to the low ground. Drain is there. Fear hustling.
Oh man.
Are they going to be able to get him? Crypt Swarm. Got him. Oh, very nice drop of the boulder, and of course, Fate's Edict. Or Purifying Flame, excuse me.
Perhaps EG feeling the pressure now. They're uncharacteristic move for them grouping up onto the Complexity side.
That was just a flat out, that had to be a miscommunication. Peter went in, and there's just nothing there. There was no follow.
I feel that they rushed this decision, though. It wasn't even an optimal play to begin with.
Yeah.
They were going for something a bit more risky. Peter definitely forced the issue there, but Z-Freak ready with the silence just caught him off guard and completely wrecked that fight for EG. I think what they're saying to themselves, okay, we lost a lot of our lanes, we're kind of at a disadvantage, we feel like we need to do something, let's abuse the fact that we have these strong teamfight abilities and not wait for them to come to us, let's try to force the issue there. And with Supernova they definitely can do that, but if that spell gets disabled from EG, there's just no hope of them taking a fight versus Complexity.
Something we haven't even talked that much about. Speaking of down bottom, tier 1 is going to drop for free here. Not going to be contested. is the overall standings. And what a big, I mean, when I say big, I mean gigantic match. This is for these teams. EG currently sitting at 4-0, while Complexity's at 4-1. So if Complexity's able to take a win here, they're going to drop EG to 4-1, and they're going to advance to 5-1 and put themselves in a fantastic position looking ahead. So this is clutch time, man, for both of these teams. And EG, without a doubt, the hands-down favorite here in the region. Not to say they're going to lose here and suddenly collapse, but it would be such an unbelievable shot in the arm and piece of momentum if Complexity is able to knock them off here in best of ones.
Yeah, Complexity is definitely showing up today, beating out Digital Chaos and potentially threatening EG here. If that's the case, then this is going to look a lot closer than we all imagined. We all felt that EG was going to cleanly sweep this group and take the first place slot, but Complexity is making them, you know, they're throwing them like a real serious threat here, a challenge.
Well, coL taking their time, resetting a bit. Net worth is absolutely in favor of Complexity. In fact, biggest lead of the game, roughly there, just about 5K. So even though, you know, EG's given up a couple of fights, they're down, but they're not out by any stretch of the imagination. They still have plenty of opportunities to put their team fight potential to use. The big question mark that's coming up for me, though, is this Troll Warlord. What are they going to get out of him? He's picked up his Helm of the Dominator. You know, he's making progress through his item progression, but for the most part, it's getting hard to see how, if Complexity continues to move the way they do and really take fights on their own terms, how he's going to be of much of an impact.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, it's gonna be a dual effort from the troll and the jug. It's not all in the jug here, or all in the troll here. I think that it's gonna be really important that Fear and Sumail continue to keep their farm up and hopefully not get choked out by this.
Universe ran into a smoke gank, and down he goes. Took him a little longer than they would have liked. He did complete the mechanism ahead of that, but now look at top lane. Top lane has a good creep wave coming, has a catapult. Exorcism's at the ready if they want to deploy it. Oracle playing ultra aggressive, getting himself out in front. And they're going to be able to push here. In fact, yeah, EG not even looking to remotely challenge for that tower. Instead, they're just hoping they can get a tier 1 here.
Yeah, it's looking pretty rough for EG right now. They can't seem to get anything from Complexity. They're not going to make mistakes as a group of 5 here. All they have to do is maintain their positioning. Z-Freak can't get caught out, especially Hansen can't get caught out. It's all about the positioning for Complexity when they actually eventually go for this high ground siege.
Complexity could just about defend this tier 1 if they wanted to. They're not going to, but they could have. They didn't even use their glyph.
Yeah, it's like on the dire side, it's kind of, you know, there's multiple options for you to TP to, so it's not incredibly important for them to relocate there, and it's also just a massive investment for them. They've just secured so much space on the top lane and the mid lane. They don't want to give up all this map that they just dominated over the past like couple of minutes here, and it's not a big loss. They feel that EG won't go for 2 anyway, so in the end it's just they're trying to be efficient, not spend too much.
Well, speaking of efficiency, Chessie certainly had a very efficient early game, and Earthspirit just got a solo kill. Guess not solo, it was him and Hanskin. Sorry, missed that. But yeah, Lone Druid is on par for a 17-18 minute Radiance now. And when that Radiance comes out, your EG, what's the answer, Fluff?
You have to weather the storm, basically, and if you're on EG side, you have to make sure that you're still farming, not getting choked out, to the best of your ability, of course. And then once they go for the high ground, you need to really execute. You need to have a plan ready. I think PPD, when he drafted this lineup, maybe in mind, he would think about like what conditions need to be met in the team fight for it to happen. And I think EG as a team, they execute these combos on such a high level, and they've been known to perform these excellent team fight combinations that's just pretty much what they're gonna have to rely on here to get back in the game.
You can see the jungle being invaded by Complexity, doing a pretty good job of choking off the map. I mean, taking down the tier 2 top certainly does a nice job making that part of the map feel scary for EG, but also just making sure they keep their space while also keeping the map dark where applicable, and keeping EG very funneled in terms of their income sources. We're going to see this bear with the Radiance now done make its run here at the tier 2 bottom, and all of Complexity is collapsing, and EG, they're going to smoke. This could be troublesome. A lot of this is going to come down to who gets the jump. Complexity's also smoked.
Oh man.
And yep, there's Zai. Spotted it.
Oh.
He blinks ahead. Tower drops. EG in a bit of an awkward position here. Let's see how they want to engage it. Behind that, we're going to have the lasso that's going to get Fear. And he's going to end up dropping with absolutely nothing to say. Sumail does get the ult up. Yules bails out Lip, at least for the moment. Let's see if he can finish it off. Zai's going to be brought down, but not before he gets the finger off. Does a good bit of damage. Now it's 2 for 2. Beautiful vacuum wall. And this is EG's chance to try to turn this. Fear is bought back. They need to make sure that that pays off. Complexity, though, still up and fighting. And Fear can't do anything. The Bear's right on him. There's the root.
Oh my
That's
God,
a dieback
dieback
for the 1 position. A disaster for EG. Universe looked like he had the goods to try to turn that with the vacuum wall, but there was nothing to follow it up. And EG finds themselves in the deepest, darkest hole they've been in for quite some time. Down to 10K behind Complexity, and the North American squad, the red and the black, are marching all over the white and the blue.
Wow, Complexity read that situation perfectly. They sensed the desperation in EG. They knew that once they pushed that tower, EG was going to go look for some smoke flank, and it was almost perfect, but EG took the higher route instead of taking the lower path above the ward spot, and that pretty much made a difference for them. They could have been completely caught off guard there. That was amazing presence of mind from Complexity. Such a great call for whoever made that.
Which is such an awful place to try to take a team fight. Like, whenever you're on the Radiant side and you happen to get caught out, like in this vicinity, if you can see where I'm drawing, it's just so odd. The vision lanes are weird. There's a lot of weird angles that you have to account for, and that's exactly where EG got caught from. And, you know, we ended up seeing the fight kind of break out a bit behind that. But nonetheless, it was just a very awkward situation that, as you so astutely point out, was the result of just a perfect read from Complexity, putting themselves in the most advantageous position within that quadrant of the map.
Yeah, you never say this. No one ever says this. EG got straight up outplayed completely.
Yeah.
Complexity read that situation 100%. They sensed all the desperation from EG, and it could have been way worse, just way worse, honestly. And that's with a dieback happening. It just, everyone could have just collapsed completely.
All right, let's talk a bit about Fear once again. He's 0-4, sitting on 109 CS, not bad at all, I suppose. But, hang on. Magnetize on the side. There's going to be Universe there, buying some time with the mech. And Fear's going to try to get involved. Looks like Siegfried may have bitten off a bit more than he needed to. And EG able to capitalize as a result. However, the rest of Complexity is screaming space created. As they've moved into the Roshan pit, let's see if EG is going to figure this out in time. While we wait to see, I was going to talk about the troll. His impact has been less than 0. I feel like he's actually been a liability.
Yeah, I was kind of like wondering about the pick as well. I'm never gonna question a TI champion, but I didn't personally find any specific counters or advantages here for the Troll Warlord pickup, and it's not really paying off. Perhaps like maybe in a different light we'd see how exactly effective it would be, but in this game it kind of looks like, yeah, a liability, like you said.
Well, I will question a TI champion because I've hung out with these guys drinking, and I know sometimes they do questionable things.
Well, you know, when you play video games professionally, you're actually just a little bit behind socially. You don't understand some of these cues. I mean,
well, here's the screwed up thing. I don't play professionally. I just talk about games, and I know I'm weird whenever I go drinking.
Yeah, it's just gamers in general, you know.
At least they have an excuse. But anyway, we're at 20 kills, roughly. We're at 19 kills to be specific in a 21-minute game, and better than three-quarters of those, owned by this Complexity squad. Which, you know, coming out of this, I had a lot of question marks about their draft coming in. You know, Lone Druid, it's like, okay, so are you going for a cheese thing? It's been anything but. Like, you see, you know, a Death Prophet, a Lone Druid, it's like, okay, Death Ball, run over towers. Yeah, they've taken towers, but largely it's been because of good movement, good picks, and really good decision-making.
Well, yeah, but that's the scary thing. Their lineup didn't even come into full fruition before they started gaining this advantage. And it's like, but the thing is that compared to EG, I see a clear game plan here. It might not be like the most elaborate game plan ever, but it's like, you know, Swindles is a leader, you know what he likes, you know what Complexity does, and they're doing it, and it's like, it just makes sense. And I remember when I was playing with Archon and Shanghai Major, Swindles came over to me and said, hey, just draft something that makes sense. That's all you need to do, just make sense, okay? Yep. Even if you lose, just make sense.
Don't get cute. There's no bonus category for cute points. Draft something that makes sense. I like that, Swindles.
And I feel like with EG, there's a little bit of everything here, and you know, the Troll Warlord, we don't really see that too often.
I think that's the problem. I mean, imagine this troll was something else that, you know, to quote Swindles, makes sense. You know, you have good team fight. You have a very good damage dealing mid in the Juggernaut that scales fairly well. I mean, he's not like got to go ham like a Morphling would or something in the ultra late game. But nonetheless, now imagine that Fear is on something that makes more sense than a troll, something like.
I mean, I don't want to. I don't want to make it sound the way like as severe as it came across. It's not. It does make sense. Like there's a lot of synergy. The roles are clearly defined. It makes sense in that way. But I'm just saying, as clearly defined as Complexity's lineup is, it's just obvious to the naked eye. I mean, someone who's not very like familiar with the game can understand. Okay, yeah, they're gonna push because that's just what these heroes do.
Right.
As opposed to EG, there's a lot of like intricate things that need to happen. Probably PPD himself understands the best. And I mean, like, I don't know, Complexity. Have we ever seen them match up versus EG this dominantly?
I know I haven't, and I watch a lot of EG Dota.
I feel like EG has almost always had Complexity's number up until very recently. There was that one win where Swindles had the huge outcry when they beat EG for the first time finally. But I mean, this is a totally revamped EG roster. I mean, they went back to the roots. Fear on the 1, Zai on the 4, and I mean they were expected and slated to be number 1 here by a long shot.
Still got 2 minutes on this Aegis. We'll see if Complexity wants to commit to this. This is a big deal. If they can get a tower and/or a Rax, a tier 3 and/or Rax down 25 minutes, would be a major coup for them. Nope, it looks like they're just going to go ahead and send the bear back to the Hoos.
Yeah, they'll recall it just for the heal. This is another thing. Phoenix is just so exceptional versus the bear, just chipping it away with the Sunray and then the Fire Spirit slowing down the attack speed. There's so many obstacles for the bear. But I mean, Complexity is so far ahead now that they can get this permanent chip damage on the tower, and then Hanskin can just heal it up at his leisure.
And that's exactly what they're going to do. Waiting on their next wave to come up.
And you might, if you're new to the game, you might say like, why does the exorcism pop out from the prophet? Isn't that going to help them siege the base? Well, you don't want to put it on cooldown because they understand that the siege is going to be very repetitious. It's going to be methodical. It's going to take multiple waves, and they're just going to go and pop exorcism when they feel like they can go for the kill.
Looks like they want to move up the high ground. Again, the Aegis still has probably about 60 seconds on it at this point, maybe a little less. There's going to be Swindles engaging, getting PPD with the lasso. Can they bring him down? Gets the egg off, but he's surrounded by nothing but unfriendly faces, so that's a complete waste of an ult. And there's going to be a vacuum, but a BKB was already deployed by Limp. Vacuum didn't really accomplish much of anything. Exorcism still going. They're going to get at least 1 Rax. They're going to use the glyph, but I don't know that it's going to matter. A little bit extra damage, and now they're willing to pull back.
Excellent patience and positioning there. And there you go. You see again, there's the advantage of having the Lone Druid versus the Darkseer. Not only is he dominant in lane, but also there's nothing to use the Wall of Illusion on. There's nothing that you can replicate there. It's like, what if you pull him in, you're not replicating the bear, you're replicating the main hero who just has the Vlads and boots. It's not really going to contribute much to the fight. So, you know, again, Lone Druid doesn't really care what Darkseer has to bring to the table here.
I mean, keeping an eye on what Fear's up to. It looks like he wants a Diffusal Blade. It just feels like a yard sale kind of a build. I mean, it's got a bunch of mid-game, mid-tier items, and it's not paying off. I mean, his HP is not particularly high. He's certainly not doing much damage worth mentioning. I mean, even with the attack speed, it's just not going to matter that much, I don't think.
A lot of times when you start falling behind, especially with the dieback, you're gonna start going for those cost-efficient items, trying to get as much value from your goal as possible instead of going for more ambitious things, because you just can't afford to, you know, lose at any point. You have to be battle ready. You have to be ready if they're pushing your Rex to just put out as much DPS as possible.
Well, there's a Diffusal done. We'll see if he's going to be able to get something useful out of it. For now, Complexity has got to be calmly and quietly. Oh, there's another Diffusal out, coming from Sumail. So, dual Diffusals. Talk to me about this, Fluff.
It's literally the same reason as Fear. Typically, you'd want to go for like a Butterfly or something to just help your scalability as a Juggernaut, but they're feeling under the gun right now. They feel like a fight could happen any moment, and they're not wrong. Complexity's marching straight down top lane. This is typical Swindles, you know, just one from the other. It's a lot like the Complexity that I ran. You systematically take out every single tower one by one. You don't make any mistakes. You don't allow anyone to get picked off, and you just do it as a group.
Well, Sumail going to show himself, or more to the point, EG going to smoke themselves as they're getting some burn damage, and Fear sees the bear, uses the Diffusal charge. Here we go. There's going to be the ult. coming in from behind, and yes, PPD being pursued. Fight's really broken up. It's going to be the Omni Slash, however. Jules helps get the Death Prophet out of control. Here comes PPD flying back through. He's silenced for the moment. Can't get the ult off. It's 1-0, favoring Complexity as of now. Zai's going to end up making it 2-0. And I don't know what they can do.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they GG'd after this.
Like they can't do any damage. They can't stand around and fight's the problem. Peter got off the egg, but it just doesn't matter. Fear's down. GG.
Good game, well played.
So Complexity shock us all as they take on Evil Geniuses and what is inarguably the biggest test they've had on their road to TI6 thus far. And they prevail. And not just prevail, I mean, there's something to be said here, man, whenever you're down to the final games. Confidence. Talk about just general team chemistry. Those things suffer when you not only lose, they got blown out 20-4, and they were behind, must have been 15 to 20 grand by the time all was said and done. How does this happen? Walk me through where EG went wrong step by step.
I think that EG, I mean, I'm not going to say it's